Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I am Agi Keramidas and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I am interviewing leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week, every Monday and Thursday. In today's show, I am delighted to speak with Uzma Naqvi. Uzma, you have been working in the home office for almost 2 decades. And then after maternity leave, you took a career break and you went through a very dark time in your life and did attempt to commit suicide 5 times. You discovered personal development, and as you went into this, you succeeded in fully healing yourself mentally and emotionally and falling in love with life. And now you are a holistic transformational coach, passionate about serving people going through difficult times and helping them see the light within them. Uzma, welcome to Personal Development Mastery. I'm delighted to be speaking with you.
Thank you, Aggie. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Shall we start with your journey, which is fascinating to say the least? So if I were to ask you to give me a key defining moment, a milestone in your life's path, which one would you choose to give me first?
100% I would go to one particular quote, which completely changed everything for me. And that was a quote that I had read many times before. I had come across many times before, said by a man that I revere and someone I follow in terms of my faith, and everything he said is so amazing. It's a quote by a man named Imam Ali. And he actually has a book filled with quotes and letters and sermons called The Peak of Eloquence. But within that, there is one quote which was particularly life-defining for me. And I guess that's where the journey really began. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read that quote out to you. So
I was about to ask you to anyway.
Okay. So the quote is, "Your sickness is from you, but you do not perceive it. Your remedy is within you, but you do not sense it. You presume you're a small entity, but within you is enfolded an entire universe. Therefore, you have no need to look beyond yourself. What you seek is within you if only you reflect." And this took my breath away. Yeah.
Wow.
And so when I read this, it kind of put me on a track it was a quest to figure out what this means. Because I was sick, but I didn't feel like there was a remedy within me. And I certainly didn't feel a universe within me. And I didn't have any answers. So I felt that I needed to reflect, but I didn't know where to start. How do I begin to reflect? What do I reflect on? How do I even begin this journey? So this was my kind of turning point where I kind of really looked into this deeply and started off my journey to personal development.
And what time in your life was that? Because in your story, you say that you attempted suicide 5 times. Was that after that period? During that period?
No. So it's been a long journey of ups and downs many times. So that the attempts were a while ago. I was a lot younger at that time, and I guess it's when you don't really know who you are, and every time you get to that point where you're not finding any answers and you're not happy with what's going on, and you don't really know how to get out of that situation, that you feel like, what's the point? And it's such a like. When it comes to levels of consciousness, it's such a victim stage to be in, where you just think, okay, the only answer I've got is just leave this world and everything else will, that's it. That's it. Everybody else will be happy and it's all going to work out because I will have gone. Because you attach everything to anything negative happening to, it's you who's doing it. So it was a very negative way of sort of perceiving things and living life. And so that was a while ago. And after that, I got married, I had children. And I guess that gave me a really big like point of purpose in a way that, when you have children, you have responsibilities, and there's something to live for in a way. But it still didn't, it was wonderful to have that. It was wonderful to be able to be responsible for other beings. But it still didn't fulfill something within me. I was still on a quest. I didn't even know I was on a quest, but I knew I was lost. And I knew that I needed to seek. I just didn't know where to start. And it was this quote that kind of got me on the journey way after that event.
What was your next step after you read that and you had that light bulb moment? What did you do afterwards?
So I was filled with questions, and I basically started to write things down. So I started journaling, and I guess that was my first kind of almost like a brain dump of what's even going on in here, because you lose track and it's so fuzzy when it's all in the mind and you think you have it figured out. I know I'm depressed about this thing and this thing and this thing, but you don't actually know until you take it all out. And so that was my initial sort of way of just getting everything out of the system and putting it on a piece of paper. And that broke home to me. Wow, I am dealing with quite a lot of stuff, quite a lot of emotions, quite a lot of things. I've been carrying the baggage of so many different things that I need to unravel and dissect and understand. And so, yeah, it started with just kind of getting it all on a piece of paper and really understanding what it is that I'm dealing with in the first place.
If I will make an assumption here, if the personal development journey has any commonalities with mine or other people who I have spoken with, there are some key moments or some big turning points where you are on the journey and you grow, but something happens, or you read a book, or you go to an event, or you do a course, and there is a big shift and a transformation, and you take a different trajectory. So do you want to share something like that, or one or two moments?
Sure. So I came across Tony Robbins.
Somehow I knew you would mention that name.
Yeah, actually, when I came across him, I had no idea how big he was, because I'd never looked into personal development. Really, I didn't really know this realm existed. When you're so wrapped up in that victim stage, you don't look beyond it because you can't. You're too tied up. And so that's the very first time I came across one of his things. The first thing I remember of when he's talked was serving something bigger than yourself. Like, stop getting yourself trapped into your own self. Get out of your own way. And I was like, what does he mean? Like, how do you get out of your own way? I'm me. So it's not the whole process of like separating yourself from your thoughts and your beliefs and your emotions and everything else that's going on. Like, I felt as though it was all in one before. And that was one of the turning points, like an aha moment, to think that, oh, okay, what I think and what I believe isn't necessarily mine. So I can actually come away from that and think differently. So, of course, that changed the whole course of everything that happened. So I remember that very, very kind of prominent moment where I started to think, okay, now I'm thinking this way, but this belief and this thought doesn't have to be mine. So what is my thought? Where am I in all of this? So it's like digging really, really deep. And obviously that took me onto the quest of sort of the subconscious mind and super subconscious mind and the spiritual realm and the divine and, above and beyond. Like, it's a never ending journey. I will not ever profess that I've got there. That I know everything. Of course, I'm just taking the first initial steps, and I feel very blessed that I got put onto this journey quite automatically. And I think that happens for such a beautiful reason. And if you're caught up in the negativity of it, then you can be there forever. But if you take a break and just kind of breathe and try to understand, then it really takes you on a different path. And that's the path that you're meant to be on. And it's about finding that gift within the hurt and within the pain. I think that's where I kind of changed my direction a lot.
Absolutely. And I believe that especially with adverse situations that we've encountered, or big problems, or personal mess, I would use that phrase loosely.
Yeah.
these all have the potential to turn into our power if we look at them in a different, from a different point of view, and be able to realize deeper our purpose. There is a word that I like that you use. You said that once you figured out how you healed yourself, you deemed that it was your duty to help others, and it is that word duty. I don't know if you're familiar with Stoic philosophy. I'm a keen student of it, and they talk about our duty as human beings, which is, I believe, a different way of saying purpose or,
Yes.
So can you talk to me about this sense of duty that you have? Where does it come from, and how do you fulfill it?
It takes me right back to, so one of the most phenomenal things in the whole journey of personal development for me was that it really put me in touch with my spiritual life and my own faith and my belief system. I always had a deep belief, and I'm a Muslim, and I've tried to be a practicing Muslim, but I think I struggled so much because I was so caught up in my own hurt, and I was there was always something happening to me which never let me look elsewhere and whatever else was happening outside of me. And like I said, as I started to look beyond myself and really found this journey. And after coming out of the darkness period, especially where I was able to forgive people without receiving an apology, forgive myself for not understanding my own worth, committing myself to what I need to become and who I need to become, and really looking ahead and sort of being proud of myself, like understanding that this has been a massive leap and I have come a long way. And so, yes, I identified the sickness. I've got a lot of the remedies which do make me feel much, much better. I feel that there is a universe in that. I'm not claiming that I figured it all out, but I am definitely on the quest to, and I will never end up giving that up again, because this gives me my purpose, and every time I'm doing anything, it serves me a little bit more, it opens a little bit more of an opening for me, and I get that tiny bit closer. And I think that's more of an addiction for me now. I don't think I'll ever take a step back from this. And I use the term addiction in a very careful way, because I know it can have a very negative connotation, but why would I ever want to give up this kind of addiction where I'm evolving and growing every single day? And so I like the fact that I'm addicted to this. So when I got to a point where I felt like, okay, I can breathe now, I can let go, I can forgive, I can be compassionate, I can do the things that I never thought I would, through this process of healing and self-development. And getting to a point where I had a full-on journey. I'm actually in the process of writing a book about my journey at the moment. And so because I had like this framework that I used for myself to get out of my own way and find my path, when I got to the other end and felt a little bit better in myself, I couldn't sit with it. I couldn't keep it to myself. I couldn't think, okay, I feel better now, so therefore I can just go on my merry way and look after my children and be at home and, just go back to the normal. I mean, my career break was coming to an end. Every year I was supposed to go back, I extended it that little bit more, one more year. And so it came to a point where I was thinking that job served me okay, because it gave me the flexibility of having a family, and I was able to do so many things, but it was always just a job. It was never my soul's calling. And as I started to sort of look into this more, and even with family and friends and people that I knew close, I started to like have conversations, and they were like, oh my God, that makes total sense. I never thought about it this way. And I thought, oh wow, like I can actually help somebody change their perception about something, or change their life in a way, because if they just, it just takes one tweak sometimes. And that was amazing for me. That realization was absolutely phenomenal. And so I started stepping into this whole idea of how can I know something that I know is going to change lives, and keep it to myself. And that's where the word duty comes in, because my faith tells me that your existence is to have the spiritual connection with the divine, but the ultimate aim is to serve his creation. And so he gave me this whole journey of going through the pain and hardships and everything, took me back out of it, gave me a framework of how I came out of it. And now he said, go and give this to whoever needs it. And so that's where I came to a point where I made a decision that actually I'm not going to stay just, sitting with this. I need to give this to whoever else needs it. And it was quite phenomenal, actually, because I've never been a businesswoman. I've never done, this is a brand new journey for me. And when I first started doing this, as anybody, you weren't really sure where this is going to go. But I was quite amazed to see that actually a lot of people are resonating. And actually a lot of people are saying, I totally get your message. And it's really healing me. And that is life-changing for me. Every single time I hear or I see any one of my clients just smile and say, that makes total sense. That is now starting to shape something up for me. It's just like, I can't put words to it. It's just amazing. It gives me so much happiness and just purpose to my life. I love doing that. So,
yeah. Your face shows it, but immediately the moment you started saying about that, it was very clear. And you said earlier about using the word that addiction to the journey of personal growth, and I agree with you. Despite the negative connotations that the word might have, the only thing I would say with that is that even if you wanted to go back, you can't. It is important. It's like the Matrix. Once you get the red pill, that's it. You are disconnected. It's impossible once you get into a growth mindset and starting to see things in a different way. You can't really go back into oblivion. It's impossible. You would be completely sad and depressed and void of any meaning in your life.
I couldn't agree more. And again, it is something that you just as you go forward, more and more doors open, and that is the addiction bit, that if you stepped back, you know it immediately because you're so connected and you're so aware that as soon as the emotions aren't quite in balance and as soon as something isn't quite working out, you can quite quickly just switch on and say, oh, this is what's happening and this is how I need to look at it. So it gives you that way of sort of looking forward and keep going so you don't ever go backwards.
Uzma, let me ask you something else. You mentioned the word spirituality a few times already. So I wanted to ask you, what does spirituality mean to you?
So the spirituality is like a core theme of the whole course I do with my clients, because whether you're a believer in God or you're not, we all have something within us that takes us to a higher place, that connects us to something bigger, because we all at some point understand in our lives that there's something bigger than ourselves out there. And it's the connection between who you are as a person and where you've been born, what you've been given, the kind of everything that you've been given as a human, your voice, your eyes, your sense of hearing, the body that you have, the place you're living in, the language that you can speak, everything that you have has a purpose. It's all kind of, when you put it together, it makes you as a whole, and you have a purpose. You're not here without any reason. You are here with a reason. So it's about understanding your own purpose, but then connecting that to that higher power that whether you believe, again, whether it is God or whatever it is, a lot of people call it universe. So many people call it so many different things. And that to me doesn't matter what that is, but to have that connection and to go out of your own self and out of this like surrounding world that can so consume you, to get out of that and really connect higher and have, in our language, in Arabic, you call it tawakkul, which is, I translate it like law of attraction, perhaps, because you've said something and you believe that it's going to come from somewhere. And it's that connection that gives you that belief that, yes, I've made a request and I know that that's going to manifest in some way or other. But spirituality generally is, how do you know who you are? What purpose do you carry without having that link? Without that link, you're just you, and you on your own. That universe can't be found. You only find that universe within you is if you find that spirituality and the connection in between. That's what puts you in touch with your own self and something a lot higher than yourselves too.
It's a big topic, and
Yes.
you know very well, I'm sure, that many people have the term spirituality confused with their religious beliefs, and it's I don't know why it is so mixed. Maybe it is intentionally mixed, but there is really, they are different things. And for me, spirituality is more related to personal development, maybe in a different way of expression, but still what you told me is 100% resonates with me. I will move the conversation a bit far from that for the time being. I want to ask you, you mentioned earlier that realization you had about your mind, the thoughts, that it was not your mind, your thoughts, when Tony Robbins said it. I remember Tony Robbins calls it the mind. It's not our mind, it's the mind. So do you want to talk to me about the power that these thoughts have over us and how they affect us, and what can we do about it if they're not ours?
Yes. So that's the crippling part, that if you don't know that they're not yours, you are 100% consumed by them because they overtake your life. You're dealing with thoughts day in, day out, all the time. So if you don't know to separate them from yourself, if you don't know that they don't belong to you, then they will dictate your life in everything you do. And so it is very, very essential to get to that realization, however that might be, whether that's through pain or through wisdom, because we transform under two circumstances usually. There might be other reasons, but two primary reasons that we actually have this transformation within ourselves. And one of them is what most people go through the transformation of, is the suffering. When you go through something so deeply tragic, or something that you feel like it's taking everything away from you, you don't know how to deal with it, that you start to question your existence, and then you come to some kind of an answer or conclusion, and you start this journey of self-development. But the other one is through evolving through wisdom and learning and going out of your way to really finding out what this means. And I guess if suffering puts you on this journey, then the other one automatically comes, because again, like you said, there's no way back. There's only a way forward in this journey. And so, yes, I think that once you realize that those thoughts are not yours, especially learning that majority of the limiting beliefs that you carry within yourselves are implanted in you from the ages of 0 to 7. I think that realization, especially for me, I can talk for myself, that I didn't have much control over where I was, who I was with, what I was doing, what kind of life I was having. Not a lot of control at that age. Obviously, you are where you are. You are surrounded by the people you are, and if that has such an impact, and it doesn't mean to say that you have a traumatizing past. It doesn't mean to say that you had a very bad childhood, but it certainly means that any tiny little incident within that age gap can really have such an impact that it stays with you for the rest of your life. And I think that realization that at such a young age, you can have something so powerful implanted in you, that unless you make the decision to reprogram that at a later age in your life, then you can't separate yourself, because you don't know, right? And even when you decide to reprogram it, it's still quite a difficult journey, in the sense that it takes a lot of resilience, it takes a lot of self-discipline, it takes a lot of determination, it takes a lot of consistency. And that's where a lot of people lack, sadly. Like it's not easy to do something every single day that you're not, we're creatures of habits. So we just automatically fall back to what we just know, what we're programmed to do. And that programming happened at such a young age, and that's what you're carrying forward. So it's not yours. Whoever was in charge of you at the time whoever put you in whatever situation you were, whatever TV you were watching at the time, whatever the circumstances back then are the beliefs that you're carrying today. They're not yours. So that's the first thing, to like be able to understand that they're not yours. And then you get onto the journey of trying to reprogram all of that and really get that out of your system, root it out, and then plant in the ones that you actually want and the ones that are going to serve you from here on.
Shall we talk about reprogramming then? Because you mentioned that, and it can be a challenging process. It's certainly not straightforward, because they are, all these beliefs and thoughts are in our subconscious, so we don't access them normally as we would with a thought. So are there techniques in particular that you recommend, or ways that we can start reprogramming these limiting beliefs?
Yes. So basically, one thing we need to understand is that our mind cannot hold conflicting beliefs. So if we have a belief that we're not worthy, then at the same time, we can't have a belief that we're amazing and awesome and we are totally worthy. They're two very contradicting beliefs, right? So it's to understand that whatever you're telling yourself, whatever chatter is going on up there, that's coming from the subconscious, and that happens to be your belief. So if it's something that's not serving you, if it's something that where you're self-sabotaging yourself, you're talking to yourself in a hateful way, you're calling yourself fat, ugly, thick, whatever, all of these terms that we have going on inside of us, then you know that you can't then have a belief that tells you that you're worthy and you're amazing and that you're beautiful and you're wise and whatever else, all the good things. So the realization has to come with tracking your thoughts, first of all, to understand what's actually going on there. What am I actually thinking when I'm not really thinking about it? Because we have around about 80,000 thoughts a day. And so that's a lot of thought. And most of them go not monitored, right?
Yeah.
So, if we just live by accident, then all those thoughts are consuming us at all times. And whatever we verbalize or whatever's going on inside of our mind is having an impact on us all of the time. So that's the first thing, is to realize that your mind cannot hold two separate beliefs that are against each other. And then the second thing is that your mind actually loves what's familiar, because it's habitual. It's there. It's automatic. It feels safe. It feels secure. It's very easy for it to just do what it already knows. So when the familiar chatter is that you're no good, you'll never get a good job, you'll never find a spouse, you're never really going to find somebody who loves you, you're not worthy of love, whatever is going on inside of you, if that's familiar, then the point is to make that unfamiliar and make familiar that I love myself. I am amazing. I am beautiful. I have so much to give. I am so worthy. And all of the things that you want to put in there. So you change the conversations with your own self initially, and you draw a line under the negative talk that's going on inside of your mind to make the familiar unfamiliar, and vice versa.
So do you oh, sorry. Yeah, carry on.
Sorry, I was just going to say that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy eventually. Like anything, when you do something, I mean, usually it takes about 21 days to build a new habit. But if you can be very consistent for 21 days, non-stop, and every time you break that cycle, you go back to the beginning and you start again, it's not really that big of an ask, considering that this will literally change your life and how you converse with yourself and what you think of yourself. So really, it's about getting serious about self-growth and self-worth and self-esteem and confidence. All of that is going to come from you changing your conversation inside and making that a self-fulfilling prophecy. And also understanding that your thoughts and your beliefs, whatever they are, positive or negative, they are actually your blueprint. So when you think about a certain way, that becomes your reality, whether you like it or you don't. So if whatever is going on up here isn't positive, then your life, you actually, whoever's listening, if you think about that right now, that whatever you generally think about, you'll be able to see a correlation between your thoughts and whatever your reality is. There's definitely, they go hand in hand. So you really have to really understand that your blueprint is whatever you allow thoughts in, and the ones that you dismiss are the ones that are in the background. So if it's the wrong way around, then you need to change it to the right way around. And one last thing I would say is that we need to understand that every single thought that we think has a physical and emotional reaction. And this is something really important to understand, because it's literally releasing chemicals in our mind, and it's going into our bloodstream. So that those reactions and emotional stuff that's going on inside of us, of course, it's having an effect on how we put ourselves. So your thoughts are very much connected with your feelings and your emotions, and that's very much connected with how you put yourself out, what kind of behavior you have with other people. So often you could be standing by the sink washing pots, and then the child comes in the room and you're just consumed by your thoughts, and you're having this horrible negative chatter inside, and he just wants water, and you're like, stop that, leave me alone. And the poor kid doesn't even know what the hell happened. Like, he's just asking for water. And so because all of this going on, you don't have that control. The emotions are just like there to just burst anytime. And to have the control, you really must slow down and understand the process, that reprogramming takes consciousness, and you're going to have to stop and think about what, the train of thoughts is there, but you're going to be the person in the middle to say, yeah, you're allowed in, and no, you're not welcome. And yes, I'll allow you in because you can serve me, but no, I don't really like you and I don't appreciate you, so you can stay out. So really monitor that and stand there in the way to see what you're going to allow in and what you're not going to allow in.
I suppose that for many people, the difficulty in monitoring that is you can monitor something that you identify with. So if that train of thought takes you into a negative chatter and you are there, you have to find a way of taking a step back and actually realizing that this is not who I am. Obviously, meditation is a very good way to detach from that train of thought. Is there any other method that you would or you recommend to start changing this chatter, or doing the opposite, as you were saying earlier?
Sure. One of the most powerful things is affirmations. To say the opposite to what you're thinking. Literally say the opposite. So when you have a thought that comes into your mind and you hear yourself say, I'm not very confident, I don't think I'll do very well at that job interview, is to literally stand in front of the mirror and with your whole being and with all your might, and you just literally say, I am absolutely so confident and I will get that. And it's about putting reversing. And initially it sounds like that you're lying to yourself, and it doesn't feel right, because it's the opposite to, again, you're making the familiar unfamiliar and the other way. So your mind is going to tell you not to do that because it's not familiar, right? But to persevere, again, to make new habits, it takes time and it takes perseverance. So you're just going to have to carry on doing those things until they start to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you mentioned meditation is a very, very powerful tool, because it slows your brain waves down. And one of the things that we need to realize is that our brainwave activity has a massive part to play when it comes to what goes into our subconscious mind and what doesn't. So when it comes to our subconscious mind, the way we tap into that is by making our brain go down to alpha and theta level, particularly theta level of brainwave activity, which really slows it down, relaxes your body to a point where you can even do self-hypnosis, and you can really get to the bottom of some of the things that are programmed in your subconscious mind. And actually you can get certain beats, certain types of sounds, and certain type of music that can actually really relax you to that point where you can tap into that part of your brain where you're able to go into your subconscious mind and really start to reprogram. And then that's a very powerful tool. It's called brain entrainment, the kind of tools, techniques that you use to get back into that.
That last one, I will admit that I've never heard of it, so I'm certainly going to look it up and find some more information. Uzma, I would like also to discuss with you the topic of emotional intelligence, because I think it goes hand to hand with our thoughts, because our thoughts cause emotions, maybe the vice versa as well. There is a dispute about that, but in either way, there is a certain correlation between thoughts and emotions. So can you tell me your thoughts, your opinion about emotional intelligence, its importance, and maybe some ways we can work with it and improve it.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right that there is definitely a correlation between the two. So your emotions are so much attached to how you put your feelings out, and that is directly going to have an impact on what kind of behavior you have, what kind of conversation you end up having. For me, I think there are two components to building emotional intelligence. Number one is the insight into your emotions. So no emotion comes without a reason. Every emotion comes to you with a message. And it's for us to stop and reflect and analyze what that emotion is there to give you. What insight is it giving you? Whatever emotion it is, it's got something behind it that you really need to understand. That's the first thing. And with that, I would say also that the more we try to push down our emotions, the ones that we don't want to deal with because they're difficult, you don't know what to do with them. And so we end up just kind of ignoring them, pushing them to a side. But the more we do that, the more we realize that actually they're coming up even more because they're so much more powerful when we try to ignore them. They're there all of the times. So the best thing is to just allow it and accept that right now I'm feeling anger. Right now I'm feeling sadness. Right now I'm feeling whatever feeling you're feeling at that time, let it come in and understand that it's come. And then try to dissect, why is it there? What is it trying to tell me? What does it want from me? What do I need to give it? What do I need to understand from it? And really kind of get to know what it is. So that's the insight bit. And the second bit, which is a very important component to emotional intelligence, is the control bit. Now, having the control is the ability to create the emotion that you want to create, rather than just allowing ourselves to live by accident. So what happens is, if we're not in touch with if we don't have the emotional intelligence built within us, then as soon as we feel an emotion coming, we just run with it. Like, as in, if it's anger, we are very angry instantaneously. We don't allow ourselves the time to take a step back and really try to gather our thoughts and understand what the message is behind. And usually every emotion has several layers of messages behind it. So it's not even just one message. If we actually sat and did the homework, then we'd understand that there might be behind anger, there might be a boundary that's been crossed. There might be, other issues that are built from sadness and some kind of an emotion that's been missing from what we all have emotional needs, right? If somebody has an emotional need that hasn't been fulfilled over a period of time, then it comes up as anger, because anger is a very powerful emotion. It's one of the emotions that can be quite addictive, actually. Now, now using the word addictive in a negative connotation, as it usually is. And the reason for that is because it very instantly puts the person in power, in a very powerful position. So when I'm talking to you in a very calm and collated manner, you may not notice. I mean, right now we're in a different setting, you're only talking to me, but if in a different setting, you may not notice what I'm saying, right? Because I haven't really made myself clear enough, or I'm saying it in a very calm way, right? But the minute I start yelling and screaming and shouting, all eyes are going to be on me, all ears are going to be towards me. And that puts you in a power of quite a lot of power position in straight away. And so that's why it's very addictive, because that person gets the thing that they're missing. So for example, if it's a lack of attention that they're dealing with underneath the anger, then they get the attention, be it negative way. You often see toddlers, throwing tantrums, but you even see adults, really grown up people who are going through this turmoil of being angry so often, and they just don't know why. And it's because they've never sat with it. They've never allowed it in properly to stop and think, what is it telling me? What am I missing? Or what am I getting from, what message am I getting? And we need to understand that chronic emotional distress is more dangerous than smoking. It can give us all sorts of, issues that are like anxiety and depression, and so much, spiral of stress. And, it's a very toxic way to live. And internally, we're just constantly consumed by this way of living. And the only way to get out of that is literally to release, it releases, like I said earlier, it releases chemicals that are bad for you, and they go into your bloodstream. So you are naturally behaving in a certain way because it's become chronic. It's become a part of your life, and that's just how you deal with situations. But research shows that laughter and joy and hope and feeling of love and feeling of happiness, these are the feelings that are literally, they make you well. They help you even feel younger and brighter and happier, and you connect with people more, and people are more likely to want to be with you, and people are more likely to want to hear from you, and you have so much to offer. And you actually feel, when you slow down and you get to a point, okay, even if you use a laughing therapy, when you're feeling really, really upset, it sounds so stupid, but just start laughing, and it instantly like changes the emotion and the state you're in. It just takes away that whole like, oh, I don't feel good. It takes that away straight away, right? So it's about, if we're trying to really build emotional intelligence, then sometimes we have to go through these different paths of finding what works for us, because there are so many different things you can do. But the control bit is important, because this is where we are. Take a deep breath and understand, okay, right now I feel this emotion. I don't like it. So what do I want to feel instead? What do I actually want? What would I rather be feeling? And that only happens if we stop and reflect. If we just straight away just burst out in our emotion straight without resonating with it, then we've lost that control in the first place. But to be in a control situation is to really take that step back and understand, what do we want to feel? And that's where the knowing yourself bit comes in. If you know yourself well enough, you'll know what makes you happy, what makes you joyful, what makes you feel peace, what makes you feel all the good feelings. For me personally, I make a list. I've got a whole list of everything that makes me feel all these good feelings, and I've even got a list of everything that makes me feel all the bad feelings. And why would I make a list of that? Well, because it gives me my triggers. It tells me that I try to even break it down into my like layers of what else is underneath there. And there's a lot of self-work to be done here, because actually you have to be very honest with yourself. And this is something we don't do very often if we don't like how we are internally. We'd rather just put it away and not talk about that. It's just so much easier to say, he made me feel like this, she made me feel like this, he did this, and I was just the victim. I happened to be there, and I'm always facing this, and I'm always facing that. But reality is that no one treats you anyway. They treat you the way you allow anybody to treat you. Full stop. Like, people will behave with you as you behave with yourself. If you have no worth, if you have no self-respect, if you have no way of dealing with your own emotions, then that other person has no trajectory. They don't know when to stop. You haven't told them that. Like, they don't know what your boundary is. So they cross the boundaries often. And when your boundaries are crossed, you feel cross. You feel very angry. And then it's a vicious cycle. It just goes round and round and round in circles. So the best way I would say is to make a list of one of the best ways is to make a list of everything that makes you feel the good feelings that you want to feel. And I'll give you an example. When I live quite near, the peaks, there's a lot of like outdoors, walking trails and stuff like that. It's a beautiful place around here. And I know that nature and the walk and seeing water and trees and flowers and things like that is just instantly going to lift my mood. I know that I'm going to feel very peaceful, even if I'm like so angry, or if I'm going through something that I'm really kind of feeling like, this is too much for me to deal with. I just need to step out. I'll take my kids out with me, and we'll just go out and we'll have a walk, have a water with me, and we just go for a walk. And that really changes the emotional state. So this is one of the controls. I've already got that written down. So, if that's something that I can make happen very quickly. And in the same way, if you have things written down, maybe it's drawing for you, maybe it's painting for you, maybe it's listening to certain type of sounds, maybe it's having a pleasant conversation with somebody else other than the one who's making you feel angry and upset. So there are several things that you can put in place, but make a list so you can just pick and choose what emotion you want to feel. Why live like on autopilot? Pick and choose how you want to feel. And for my clients, when I give them, when we're doing the mind work, I give them a morning routine. And in the morning routine, I always say, every single day, wake up and say, what do I want to feel today? What do I want to be today? How do I want to? So there's a to feel list and there's a to be list. And you make that commitment first thing in the morning. So your brain knows what it's doing. Like it seeks opportunities then to want to feel the way you've intended to feel for that day. So it's a really good way to really start your morning, to make that commitment first thing in the morning to say, today I just want to feel joyful. And then your mind will go on a hunt to find you whatever makes you feel joyful, and you'll feel that.
Certainly a great day to start the day, indeed. Uzma, we've talked about so many different aspects of personal development, and it's been, I believe, tremendously valuable with all those different things that we talked about. I also would like to ask you some quick fire questions. So starting with personal development, which you are a big fan of as well. So what does the term personal development mean to you?
It's connecting with the higher power. For me, it's brought me so much more closer to divine, and spiritually it's grown me as a person, and it's getting to know myself at a whole different level and finding that universe within myself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And if you could go back in time and meet the 18-year-old Uzma, and you could give her one piece of advice, what would you tell her?
Never, ever, ever allow somebody else to make your decision, and do not wait for somebody else's validation to say, yes, you're on the right track. Trust your instinct and use your intuition to get your answers and go with it. And if it goes wrong, then you have nobody else but yourself to blame. That puts you in a lot of control.
Very wise. Indeed. And let's say you had a magic wand and you could wave it and change something in the world as it is today. What would that be?
Honestly, there's no room for world hunger now. There's no room for children to sleep on an empty stomach. There are so many things, but that's just a basic human need that cannot and should not in this day and age be allowed to happen, no matter where people are. So the hunger needs to go.
Mm-hmm. And it can, I think. If only people work for the goodness of humanity rather than their own self-interests.
Yes.
Do you want to share with us a big breakthrough, a big aha moment you had recently?
I've been doing a lot of, again, I'm on a journey. And as I talk to my clients, I'm constantly still learning from other people's experiences. So when other people share with me what they've gone through and how they've developed, or how this course that they're doing with me is helping them, sometimes it gets me to see a perspective that I didn't notice before. And that really makes me think and ponder more. And actually, it's helped me refine the program as I go along. So, I make little tweaks, and actually makes quite a big difference. So my aha moments are sort of occurring every day, because I make the intention first thing in the morning to make every day better than yesterday. Because it's just, you can't have the same today as you did yesterday, because that would be waste of one more day. So yeah, I try to do that. And there's a lot of mirror work, which I used to find very cringy. But I do it, and now I do it with a lot of pride, where I tell myself, Uzma Naqvi, I'm proud of you for doing this, and I forgive you for doing this, and I commit to you for doing this today. And that puts me in a very good mindset to go and get what I need to get on that day.
Awesome. Do you also want to share with me a big mistake you made recently, so we can avoid making the same mistake?
Oh, which one do I pick now? I think I've been delaying stuff in terms of, I know that I have certain things ready to go in terms of taking the business to the next level now. And I keep thinking, next week I'll be a little bit more ready, and I'm ready. I can just go. But something in there is saying, well, the kids can be, longer in nursery. Perhaps I need this, and I'm making excuses. So I need to have that conversation with myself to say, no, it's time to go up a notch. Probably what I'm doing, right? Delaying stuff right now.
I think many people can relate to that. I know I can. And I'm being honest with this. I think many people, if not most people, can relate.
Yes.
Uzma, is there anything you were hoping I would ask you today, and I completely skipped it.
I think you've been very thorough. I've thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with you. The only thing I would perhaps add is about the course that I do, which
share.
I think it's, of course, I think it's life-changing and it's completely transforming. And the people I've worked with, I've seen people change their lives with it. And it's hugely powerful. And it's very unique, even if I say so myself. And that's because when I started my journey of personal development, I had to go back to like the scratch. I wasn't working on just the relationship, just the career, just, a area of my life. I was working with me fully. And that took a lot of work and going back to the beginnings. So the course that I do is exactly like that. So I don't call myself just the transformational coach. I'm a holistic transformational coach. And the reason I deliberately do that is because my coaching program starts with your mind work, all your brain work, everything that happens within your mind, and where limiting beliefs come from and how they impact you, and how to root out the ones you don't want, how to implant the new ones, and all of that very powerful stuff. The first 4 weeks are fully dedicated to your mind work. And then we go into your inner self concepts. And this is where a lot of work is missed here. I think there's definitely a gap in between. And that's where you really learn about your character and the traits that you have as a character, the traits that you have and the traits that you want to build. We go very deep into emotional intelligence and building emotional intelligence and how you bring that into your reality. So your feelings and how to deal with your feelings and your spirituality, really to get that connection going. And once you've dealt with your inner self-concepts, then only I move out to the outer world of yourself. This is the physical reality of that person. So whether it's to do with your relationships, your parenting, it's to do with your money, to do with your career, to do with your friendship circles, your adventure life and what you do for fun, and the general vision of your life. And at the towards the end of the course, we build a vision board for my clients together, which is really nice. It's like the next decade of their life fully in front of them, right before their eyes, which they really, really appreciate and like. So it's a very holistic way, and it's very, very life transforming, and it's something that makes me proud every day. And so that's what I wanted to share just before we leave.
Awesome. How can people then find out more about you, and where would you direct them for more information?
So I have a Facebook page, Uzma Naqvi Life Coaching. I've also got Instagram page, uzmanaqvilife.com. I have my personal Instagram and Facebook as well. I have a YouTube channel and a website, uzmanaqvi.com, which is being worked on at the moment, but it's there. And the email address is contact@uzmanaqvi.com. And I'm kind of on social media, so you can reach out and check out my pages and stuff.
I want to thank you very much. This has been a truly intriguing conversation, and I've taken a lot of notes as well with what you were telling me. So thank you very much for the wisdom shared and all the variety of topics that we discussed. I want to wish you all the very best with your coaching and with your life. Any parting words?
I would like to deeply thank you as well for the opportunity, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And it's so commendable that you do this, and I think it's so wonderful that people have this platform to speak about themselves and connect with you. I think you're a wonderful person, and I wish you luck too. And so, thank you for your kind words towards me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. Please take a moment to subscribe and review Personal Development Mastery on Apple Podcasts, and also share this podcast with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to gain access to exclusive content while supporting this podcast, then become my patron. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/pdmpad. If you want to know more about what I do and how I can help you, or if you have any questions, join my Facebook group Personal Development Mastery. Again, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/pdmgroup. And until next time, Stand out, don't fit in.